of this book, Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. And today we're going to be concluding this book. Yes, it's been a long journey and a beautiful one at that. We've learned, we've unlearned, we have relearned from this book, and it's been so wonderful. So today we're looking at the final chapter, chapter 16, which is titled, Now You Are Ready to Fail Forward. Yes. And in this chapter, we're going to be reviewing the story of one man named Dave Anderson. The entire chapter 16 is about his life because it truly embodies what it means to fail forward. Now, there is a quote by him, and the quote says, "Failure is the hallmark of success. It can be the starting point of a new venture, such as when a baby learns to walk. It has to fall down a lot to learn the new skill. Failure is also the mark of a success you've worked for. When a pole vaulter finally misses in competition, it shows how far he's come. That failure becomes the starting point for his next effort, proving that failure is not final." All right. So you are most welcome. Sit back, relax as we, continue with the review. Please let me know if my sound is good. Thank you. All right. So this quote is by Dave Anderson. Before we go into, thank you for that. Before we go into the story of Dave Anderson, the author wants to remind us of everything we have learned from chapter 1 to 15 before we now finally take this chapter 16. And so let's look at all the steps needed to fail forward in life. There are 15. There are 15 of them preceding this chapter 16. So number 1 says, realize there is one major difference between average people and achieving people. Number 2, learn a new definition of failure. Number 3, remove the you from failure. Number 4, take action and reduce your fear. Number 5, change your response to failure by accepting responsibility. Number 6, don't let the failure from outside get inside you. Number 7, say goodbye to yesterday. 8, change yourself and your world changes. 9, get over yourself and start giving yourself. Number 10, find the benefit in every bad experience. 11, if at first you do succeed, try something harder. 12, learn from a bad experience and make it a good experience. 13, work on the weakness that weakens you. 14, understand there is not much difference between failure and success. And 15, get up, get over it, get going. All right, these are the 15 steps you need to take in order for you to fail forward. So John Maxwell is telling us the incredible story of his friend Dave Anderson, who happens to be an entrepreneur, and he met him at a leadership conference where he taught somewhere in Wisconsin, right? Let's look at Dave's profile. He has a very impressive profile, so I'm just going to give you a few of them. I won't be able to take everything. As of the time of writing this book, Dave Anderson was worth $30 million. That was his net value. He got his master's degree from Harvard University. As of when this book was written, he was the chairman of Famous Daves of America, a company that had 3,000 plus employees and which recorded annual sales of $41.6 million. He was married with 2 children, or he's married with 2 children. He founded Famous Daves of America. He helped create more than 18,000 jobs so far in his career through his vision, leadership, and ability to see opportunities. He had a very, very impressive resume. And this does not even include all the awards that he has gotten, all the recognition, the accolades, and every other thing. This is just a few of everything that Dave Anderson had achieved. So with this is impressive resume, one would think that everything he touched turned to gold and that he had never failed before, that he had everything all rosy. But here you are wrong, because he failed a lot of times. In fact, he failed to the point that if he had given up, he might have been justified, because it is so hard for anybody to go through the kind of failure that Dave Anderson went through and still emerge successful just like he did. All right, so let's go into his story. He was a typical teenager like everybody else, and in 1971, he graduated from high school. He didn't know what he wanted to do, he didn't know what direction his life was going to take, just like any typical teenager. Most teenagers still haven't figured out what they really, really want to do at that age, even though some may have a vague idea. Oh, I want to become a doctor, a lawyer, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a philanthropist, and so on. But for most of them, it is not really concrete, right? So if anybody had told him that he would become a successful businessman worth tens of millions of dollars and making positive impacts on the lives of thousands of people, he would have thought that the person was crazy, because he wasn't even thinking along that line at all. Dave Anderson was not a people's person. He wasn't one that had a good relational skill with people. So he wanted a course that he could study at the university that would just keep him outdoor, a course that wouldn't need him relating with people that much, and a course that could take him into nature and him enjoying himself. So he settled for a career in wildlife and forestry. And he went to Michigan Tech University in Michigan, right? But after the first term at the university, or first semester at the university, he went back home to Chicago. His parents were in Chicago. He went to Chicago during this break, university school break, to visit his parents. And it was while he was with his parents that one of his friends called him that, oh, Dave, do you have a suit? So he said, yes, I have a suit, because he was actually a church boy, and so he had suits. He wore suits to church. So he said, yes, I have a suit. There's a statement here that back then Dave was ready for anything. That means he was somebody that had an open mind. So he put on his suit, and he and his friend, his friend came to pick him up, and they ended up in this meeting with other people. And it was about a meeting. It was a meeting where people were being recruited to start selling an oil conditioner for automobile engines. He wasn't a technical person, so the technical aspect of that meeting did not really appeal to him. He didn't understand much about it. He couldn't relate to it, but he was really moved by the speaker at that meeting. And the speaker was Zig Ziglar. You might have heard about him. And this speaker, Zig Ziglar, make a statement, a profound statement, which Dave had never heard before in his life. And the statement is this. Zig Ziglar said, if you believe in yourself and have passion, you can succeed. Let me take that again. If you believe in yourself and have passion, you can succeed. This statement really, really moved him, as in he had never heard anything like this before. His parents loved him so much, they cared for him, but they had never motivated him this way before, telling him that, oh, he could succeed if he believed in himself or had passion. So that really encouraged him, motivated him. He thought about it. It wasn't an ordinary statement to him. So when he got home, he told his dad about this business meeting, and his dad was really encouraged. His dad was a construction worker, but he was encouraged. He really wanted to support his son. So at the next meeting, his dad went with him. The meeting was not a one-off meeting. There was another one. So his dad went with him this time around, and his dad was really encouraged by everything he heard at that meeting. If he thought that selling that oil air conditioner for automobile engines was a good business idea. So his dad invested $2,500 of his hard-earned money to help Dave purchase some of these oil conditioners so that he could sell. And for the first time in his life, Dave had a dream, and he had bought into it 100%. He started seeing himself as a business person. And that was the end of his degree, the pursuit of his degree at Michigan Tech University. He never went back to that university because he now started having a new dream of doing business. Unfortunately, he did not succeed at that business. It was like he met with a brick wall, more like there was just no breakthrough. People didn't buy into it. And as at the time of writing this book, John Maxwell said that Dave's father still had piles of those oil conditioners in his garage because he couldn't really sell them. Dave couldn't sell them. It was a total failure, right? But he didn't see himself as a failure because by attending that meeting that was facilitated by Zig Ziglar, he had hope. That meeting sowed into him seeds of future success. A lot of people wouldn't have looked beyond the fact that they couldn't sell those containers of oil conditioner, and they would have just given up there to say, these people just came to scam us, right? This thing is not selling, and that would be the end of that dream. But he did not see it that way. The fact that he attended that meeting alone, he was motivated, he was inspired, he was encouraged, and he saw himself in a new light. Seeds of greatness were planted in him on that very day, and he had hope. Hope. First, he had hope. He believed that he could be successful, right? Second, when his dad bought the product for him, Dave received a 5-day leadership course that he says changed his life. And apart from that, he was also given 6 tips by Zig Ziglar. Listen to this part. Every night for months, Dave went to sleep listening to those tips. That is the power of emphasis. Sometimes you want to do something shabbily. You want to do something for just 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and then you give up. See, there are times that you have to be tenacious. You have to keep pursuing that thing. You have to listen to one message like 20 times if you want to get the message in it, and if you want to get the blessings, and everything that that message offers. You have to listen to like 20 times or even more. There are times you have to read a book like 10 times. Somebody, in my my group, one of my groups, Mr. Adekunle once said that he knew somebody who read, is it Rich Dad Poor Dad? Who read Rich Dad Poor Dad 100 times, if I'm not mistaken. And I can never forget, because that is very, very profound. As in, to read a book 100 times. And the truth is that every single time that you read a book, you will find something new. Something that did not catch your attention the first time, or the second time, or the third time. It may be when you are reading it for the 10th time, or the 20th time, that something will just strike you, and something will just, like something hits you. And there will be a new revelation, there will be a new awakening. That is it. He went to bed every time, every night, for months, listening to this tape by Zig Ziglar. He really wanted it to sink in, right? The dream within him wasn't dead, and he wasn't going to let that failure get him down. The failure that he couldn't sell those products, he didn't allow the failure to get him down, right? So, because he really wanted to achieve, to get a formal degree, he had to try to go back to university, and he enrolled in Roosevelt University in Chicago. But then he couldn't get himself to concentrate. Now he really, really wanted to do business. So he didn't really do well at school. He got so many zeros and he failed and all of that. But he didn't give up when it comes to business. So in 1972, he went into another business venture. And this time around, he had an idea to create and sell miniature dish gardens. So he went to some florists in town, to tell them that, oh, this is what he now produces. So he gathered together a few dollars that he had and made a few samples. Good for him. He recorded some good success in this business venture. And one of the first set of people that encouraged him was a man named James Ashner, who was the owner of Richard Lange Florist, or maybe he works there, I'm not sure now, right? When he approached this man to tell him about what he was now producing. The man was really impressed and he said, okay, can I get a dozen of that one and a dozen of that and a dozen of that and a dozen of that? He started placing his order immediately. But Dave Anderson was really, really fidgeting, like, I don't have the money to make a dozen of all these things that you're ordering. How about you pick a few samples? He was now playing down on himself. How about you pick a few samples? The man said, no, I want a dozen of this, a dozen of that, a dozen of all of this. He still tried to convince the man, no, just pick a few samples and see how they do. Maybe they'll sell well. The man insisted, no, I want as many as I have mentioned. And it was at this point that Dave Anderson had to open up to the man that he didn't have enough money to produce everything that the man wanted. So the man thought that, oh, you're such an honest guy. Don't worry. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. So the man said, oh, I like your honesty. Don't worry. I'm going to pay you upfront. How does that sound? Let me pay you upfront so that you have enough money for this. And the man actually got his assistant to pay him $736.35 to go and produce this miniature garden dishes, right? And that was the beginning of his success in this new venture. He became so successful at it. He works like a madman in his basement. He works so hard. These are some of the lessons we should be picking, right? I want to read that part. He said he puts in long hours, 7 days a week. For the next 7 years, he operated out of his basement and worked like a madman. He had a very strong work ethic, right? So this is not you saying that, oh, I've tried, I cannot kill myself. No, you have to work. Yes, I know there is a part that people like to say, oh, work smart, work smart. Fine. There is a place of working smart. There is also a place of working hard. As in, when you work hard, your body will feel it. That yes, you have worked. There's some kind of work that does not only require smartness, it requires hardness as well. So he worked so hard and he became so successful. And in the course of this business, a friend suggested to him that they had the opportunity to make money. So he bought into that idea. They went for that business venture, still in line with his florist business, and they made $20,000 in one day. So after making this $20,000 in one day, they figured that, oh, they could actually make more money. So they decided to scale up on that business and to now increase the amount of goods that they buy in order for them to make more money. Unfortunately, when on the day that they were supposed to do this exhibition and they had set up a canopy, they had put all the flowers and all the products that they were selling, waiting for customers to come and buy. In fact, they rented a big tent, filled it up with plants, set up like 4 cash registers to wait on customers, hoping that it was going to be successful like the last one that they did. Unfortunately for them, the moment they set up, a funny thing happened that day. A strange fog drifted in. Then it started to drizzle. Before they knew it, the drizzle turned into a steady rain. And that was when it suddenly became cold. The rain became sleet, and then there came snow, right? It means that winter had come early. Nobody thought of it. It was not announced. Nobody envisaged it. And that was how they lost everything, because nobody could come out to come and buy anything from them. So they lost everything. The $20,000 that they made previously and the extra money that they added in order for them to be able to do this business, they lost every single thing, right? And not only him, it was reported that a lot of businesses went under that year. It was actually the worst winter on record. It was the winter of 1979 in America. So many businesses were ruined. So many people filed for bankruptcy. He also filed for bankruptcy. He couldn't continue. And it was a terrible moment, terrible period for him and his family. Because he had lost his business, he now needed to find a job to support himself and to support his family. On like 2 occasions, he had to pawn his wife's jewelry to pay the rent. And like 2 times, he stood in line to file for unemployment, but then he walked out. He was so determined that he would not accept a check from the government. He refused to see himself as poor. He refused to admit that he needed government, the help of government, to feed and to take care of his family, right? So he kept on looking, and finally he found a job. He knew that if he was to succeed in business, he needed a job that would enable him to relate with people. Remember, we said in the beginning that he wasn't a people's person. He didn't like any kind of job that would need him to be relating with people, but he knew that successful people had good people skills. So if you want to be a successful person, you must know how to relate with people. Remember the chapter where we talked about the top 10 causes of failure. The number one thing was relationship with people. People who don't know how to relate with others, they don't know how to get along with other people. There is a high chance that they are going to fail in life. So one of the habits of highly successful people, one of the skills that highly successful people possess is people skill. You must have that. So he decided to take up a sales job, right? It was a job that brought him so much fear. He was afraid of failing in this area. Somebody that did not talk to people, get along with people, but he wanted to challenge himself. So he picked up a sales job, working for American can companies, selling Dixie cups, marathon paper towels, and tissue to restaurants. He encountered so many rejections. People rejected him. He didn't find it funny at the beginning. There was no sign of success, but he kept on pushing. He would stand in front of the mirror. He would practice how to talk, how to smile, shaking hands with customers. He would do all of those things in front of the mirror. And he kept on pushing. He did not give up. He did not allow the rejections to get to him. And he continued to work hard like this. He worked like crazy and he kept on learning. In 6 months, he took a territory that had been in last place and made it number one in that company. A territory that the company knew to be the last in terms of the territory that he conquered with regards to sales. He actually made that territory number one. He was able to penetrate that territory and sell the company's products. So then he learned a lot in that position, and he discovered that you have to experience a lot of failure to achieve success. And the more failure you go through, the higher your success. He also discovered that his past failure didn't brand him for life, right? And he was able to keep failing forward. When he recorded this success for this company, so many organizations kept calling for him. Oh, we want you to help us. In fact, one of the previous organizations where I had worked, they came to him. They said, oh, we're losing money. Please, can you come and help us? We recognize your business prowess. You are very good at this. Come and help us. We want you to be the CEO. And he actually became the CEO, and he turned the company around. Gross revenues increased from 3.9 million for that company to more than 8 million. Other companies also started coming in for him. He started getting awards, recognition, and all of that. He became very, very successful. But even though he had achieved success in a variety of businesses, he had not yet done anything related to his true passion, and this was food. His true passion was food. He really, really loved food. And this love for food began when he was a kid. His dad was a construction worker, and his dad would always come home with leftover ribs from one of the storefront barbecue shacks that was introduced to his dad by a co-worker. So he really loved those ribs, barbecue ribs, and he would now start trying recipe. And every time he went out somewhere, he would go to different restaurants. He would order all the foods on their menu. He would taste everything, started developing his own recipe. And finally, in 1994, he co-founded a highly successful restaurant company called Rainforest Cafe, and this made him very wealthy. He used some of the money he had to purchase a small resort in Wisconsin, and he built the kind of restaurant that he had always dreamed of having. He wanted to call this restaurant Dave's Famous Barbecue, but the printer made a mistake and wrote and printed Famous Dave's, and that was how the name stuck, right? His restaurant became Famous Dave's. But the restaurant was a huge success. Soon he opened a second Famous Dave's, and then another, and then another, and then another. And that was how he continued to spread his tentacles, having so many branches of this restaurant. But who would have thought that Dave Anderson was also dealing with an addiction? In spite of his huge success in business, he had one addiction in his life, and that was alcohol. He drank too much. He was an alcoholic. There were so many times that his family members and loved ones came together to intervene on how he would stop being an alcoholic. But at a point, and he developed this when he was in school, right? Just like, so many young people who will be introduced to some vices, bad habits, addiction, and all of them. That was when he also picked it up. But he recognized that he had the problem and that he needed to change. So he went in for treatment. And thankfully for him, he was able to overcome, because he recognized that the key to change is to surrender. If you are battling with anything in life, any problem, the key to change is to surrender. Don't even argue. Don't make excuses for it. And one good step that he took is that he stopped hanging out with the same set of people that would encourage him to drink. He wouldn't follow them to the bar anymore. He wouldn't follow them to where they would have an opportunity to drink anymore. He disciplined himself. He made a lot of sacrifices. And this is one lesson. You cannot say that, oh, you don't want to continue in that bad habit, yet you are still hanging out with those friends that will make you continue in the bad habits. You have to change. You have to make a U-turn. If you truly need change, then there must be a change in every aspect altogether. You can't say, oh, because I don't want to offend my friends, let me still be hanging out with them. No, you really cannot do that. Right. So he was able to change, and he was really changed for good. Right. At the time that this book was written, Dave owned 24 restaurants in 5 states, and the business is still growing. So to succeed, you need to overcome a lot of obstacles and a lot of doubters. So many people told him that his restaurant business could not succeed. He did not listen to them. Right. He went ahead to do it, and the business became a huge success. But then everything is not about Dave alone. Dave is now somebody that gives back to people. He gives back to the less privileged. He has a university called Hog Haven University, where he trains people. It trains them how to manage people. It teaches them, trains them on how to get different skills, techniques, and information that will help them to succeed at Famous Dave's. It taught them several things on different areas of life, and more so in relation to his restaurant and all of that. A key part of that opportunity is knowing how to fail forward. Right. So Dave usually tells all his mentees and trainees that this is your opportunity. It is not really about him, Dave. It is about all the people that he is investing in. So when you also become successful and God has helped you to a point, are you investing in people? Are you giving back? Or you're just hoarding everything that you know, everything that you have to yourself and your family alone, right? And Dave is here saying that in life, you're going to be whipped, you're going to be whacked, you're going to be whacked in the ass. You're going to come through problems. Don't run away from problems. Don't shy away from obstacles, because they are the springboards that you need to get you into success. Go after problems. Don't run from them like most people. If you do, there's a guarantee that they will change your life. That's the way you get ahead, by solving problems. Don't run away from challenges. All right, now you are ready to fail forward. Now that you have heard the story of Dave Anderson, you are ready to fail forward. The next time you find yourself envying what successful people have achieved, recognize that they have probably gone through many negative experiences that you cannot see on the surface. An old joke goes like this: never ask what is in a hot dog while you are eating one. The idea is that if you did not know what's in it, you will never want to eat one again. If you did know what is in it, what is in a hot dog, you will not want to eat any again, right? A lot of failure goes into success. So many successful people that you see, ask them about their failure stories, and you'll be so amazed that they went through a lot of failures. They faced so many obstacles, yet they're still able to succeed. So don't envy the glory when you don't know the story. A lot of people can sit down there and say, they're stealing money. How did he get his money? And now go close to the person and ask, please, what sacrifices did you make? Ask for their story, and it will inspire you. If you really want to achieve your dreams, I mean, really achieve them, not just daydream or talk about them. You've got to get out there and fail. Fail early, fail often, but always fail forward. Turn your mistakes into stepping stones for success. Now that you know how to fail forward, you won't have to give up either. I wish you well, keep dreaming, and keep failing forward. Right, that is the end of this wonderful book. I want to say a big thank you to John C. Maxwell for blessing the world with this lovely book titled Failing Forward. I really learned a lot, and to be honest, I'm going to read this book again. I'm going to read it again, right? It's been a very wonderful one, and I'm sure that those of you attending the reviews, you've also learned a few things or a couple of things from this book, right? This is the end of Failing Forward for us here. So beginning from Monday, we're going to be looking at another book, another interesting book, right? You're going to get to know what this book is in the next review, in the next live stream. So please stay tuned. Right, that'll be the end. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like this video. Drop all of your comments in the comment section below, and please subscribe to this channel in case you're yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again on Monday for another book review by God's grace. Until then, be intentional. Bye.